What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, saints and ain'ts, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Shoe. I am your host, Dominique Smith, and today we have a very special episode. It is the Mother's Day episode, and I am joined none other by one of the best parents for Ohio State, Miss Christina Miller. Thank you so much for having me, thank you so much for being on, and happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for asking.
Definitely. I definitely appreciate you being on the show. Harry Miller is her son. He's the starting center for Ohio State, who had a fantastic year last year, but we're not here to talk too much about Harry. We want to talk about Mother's Day. So this is Wednesday when we're recording this. So I want to start. What are you doing? What do you have planned for Mother's Day?
Well, actually, Harry's brother, Jack, plays lacrosse, and he has a tournament all weekend. So we will be on the lacrosse field cheering on Jack and his lacrosse team.
Okay. Are they in Georgia or?
In Georgia. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's exciting. I hope it is not overly hot out there.
No, actually, I think it'll be about 72 degrees and no rain and kind of perfect weather to be outside. So we're kind of used to this for the past couple of years, and Harry played lacrosse before he played football. So this has kind of been going on for a long time that we've spent Mother's Day on the lacrosse field. So
how do you like it? Is it just something you're used to, or do you love it?
Oh, I love lacrosse. I love it as much as football. It's a fast-paced game. It's a hard-hitting game. It's a lot of fun to watch. A lot of, it's similar to basketball and hockey, and it's just constant back and forth. So I love the game, and Jack really likes it. So it's fun to watch him play.
I have to admit, I am insanely jealous about the weather. It was 96 today. And so it's funny you're saying it's in the mid 70s. That's like the low temperature.
90. Where are you?
I'm in Orlando.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be hot then, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm used to it, but just when people say, "Oh, it's beautiful," I'm like, "Oh gosh, just help us out here. Just send some of that our way." But no, definitely enjoy the beautiful weather. Go ahead.
We'll be there soon enough. So.
Oh yeah, it's coming. It's crazy how fast time is flying by. I always say, like, it felt like Christmas last week, and it's going to be Christmas before you know it. And everything. But one thing that I'm curious, Harry Miller is one of the most interesting people that I've ever got a chance to see or watch, because he's good at so many things. He's so unique and so diverse in his skill set when it comes not just to football, but off the field. So do you have any hidden talents like Harry does? He can play the guitar. He can maul people on the offensive line. Ohio State had him do some like insane I can't even get into it. I'll be honest, I had to cut it off. I had a headache because it was just
the video. Yeah. No, unfortunately, no. I'm nope. I don't have any hidden talents, and I wish I did, but he's a freak in that regard, I guess. I mean, he can just, anything he puts his mind to, he can do. And he's a perfectionist, which is sometimes a curse. But, he taught himself guitar by playing Guitar Hero. And then he started watching YouTube videos and did the same with the piano. And no, so I don't have any hidden talent. It's annoying he can do that, honestly.
And just be like a whiz at it, because I was just like, what is he? It was like, I don't know, people haven't seen, it's like the Big Bang Theory, just like they're geniuses with their own codes and everything. And I was like, this is just crazy. Like, I can't even be mad at it. It's just so impressive. So what has this year been like for you? What are some of the things that you've learned from last Mother's Day, which was maybe a month or two after the pandemic started, to now a year later?
Oh, geez. Well, it's been a difficult and challenging year for us as a family, not being able to see Harry. I don't think people understand how dedicated these student athletes are when they don't come home. And if they, especially during last year, they didn't come home at all. And then when we went up there, we weren't able to see them in close proximity or spend any amount of time. There was no before game meeting. There was no after game meeting. Everybody was just trying to make sure that they could have any season that they could manage to get. So it was extremely challenging. And then, you go on to the year and you have no spring to practice or learn anything. And then you have a season, you don't have a season, have a season, don't have a season. Then you go right into fall ball against your in-conference competition. And it was an extremely unique situation. And especially for somebody, I think, who was just starting for the first time, it was not an easy way to start. I'll say that, not an easy way to start. And but I think under the circumstances, he did a really, really good job.
He did a great job. I don't know if you saw the clip of, what was it, the Northwestern game, where he just completely destroyed someone. And when Trey Sermon ran for, I think he ran, it was like a 60-yard run or whatever. But I mean, just to be put in the positions that Harry was in, you essentially versus Michigan State, you don't have your entire offensive line and you're playing center, and just to be able to adjust and adapt like that is just beyond impressive. So for you personally, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was interesting. A few days notice, and what most people don't realize is that Harry never played center before, except for the Army All-American game, which they had a record score in that game. But besides the point, that's high school, right? He hadn't played center before. He was kind of pigeonholed into that position because of his intelligence and because of his size. So, and that only happened much later in recruiting, because in high school, all through high school, he played tackle. And on the high school level, that's obviously appropriate for him and his size, and he did great at it. But for that matter, he never even played guard he always played tackle through high school. So it was an interesting transition, but here we are.
Here we are. What would you say you're the most proud of where he's concerned, how he's handled himself? When we talked about it before, we got started, just the insanity that is social media, the things that he had to endure. What are you the most proud of, and how he's handled this whole situation?
That he is able to take the licks and keep going. He decided to get off social media. He has his accounts, but he's not signed into any of his accounts because it became a huge distraction, especially towards the end of the year. Unfortunately, having COVID for the Clemson game, I know he was so looking forward to that game, and I know he would have done really well. He was just finding his stride at that point. And then, of course, he wasn't able to practice at all because of COVID restrictions for the national championship. So that was really hard to get his foot back in the door, so to speak. But obviously, Matt Jones did a great job, and then he came in the second half when Wyatt, got injured. So and he did great. So I'm just proud of his resiliency and his motivation to just keep going and kind of block out the noise. And sometimes it's very difficult, but he is learning how to deal with it. And he's got a lot of great mentors who have been in the same position, obviously, that he is in. So he listens to what they have to tell him and their advice, and he's just nose to the grindstone. He didn't come home during this time off because he wanted to make up his workouts and stay in the weight room, because he was cleared to lift fully the beginning of or the end of April. So he said, you know what, I'm not coming home at all. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to make up my time and catch up. So that's the kind of kid he is. And I'm just so proud of him for that.
For you personally, how's your faith? Because as a parent, just, to watch your kid have COVID, not be able to see them and, understanding some of the things that he's dealt with, how has your faith really carried you and helped you throughout this entire process?
Well, sometimes honestly, that's the only thing you can rely on, because you have to believe that, as we do, that he chose Ohio State for a reason, that he's meant to be there. He had big plans on taking teammates to Nicaragua. He has a school in Nicaragua, and he had great plans on sharing his mission work and bringing students. And he brought Tommy Eichenberg with him, and Master was going to go with them until he had his Achilles injury. So, we have faith that Harry is supposed to be there. And, even when things are tough and things don't go our way or mistakes are made, they happen for a reason. And you just keep moving forward. There's,
go ahead.
No second guessing. You just keep going.
I'm actually interested. Can you tell us a little bit about, your missions in Nicaragua? I know it's something that you all as a family have been involved in, believe since Harry was, or at least I remember, since he was being recruited to Ohio State.
Yeah. We've been going since 2014, and honestly, it was through some mutual friends who have gone, and we thought it was going to be like a bucket list, and let's do this mission trip, and we'll go see Nicaragua, and then maybe we'll go someplace else. But I had breast cancer in 2012, and after that experience that took about a year to get through, I looked at my life and our family's life, and I said, we got to do something more than what we're doing, because there's just too much out there. So that's kind of what precipitated the desire to go. But then once you're there, we fell in love with the people. We were just in shock. You just don't even realize how bad things are in other places until you see it for yourself. So when you have kids sleeping on dirt floors of a tin house with cardboard and leaking roofs and no electricity and no water and nothing, and they're happy because they're playing with a deflated ball or an empty can that they're using as a soccer ball or whatever, they're just so resourceful and still so happy. And you're like, gosh, we left all this stuff behind, and we have every privilege that you could want living in America, and these kids are still happy in spite of their circumstances. And it was just an unbelievable experience, life-changing. And because of that, we decided to go back every year. And so Harry's gone every year since 2014, and he was asked to be on the board for a school down there in a little suburb of Managua. So he takes part in running a school. We just started a special needs program because that's also something that's close, near and dear to our hearts. So we started a special needs program, and unfortunately, because of COVID, we can't get down there, and they didn't get a spring break, and if they did, they wouldn't have been able to go anyway. So, we're really hoping by next spring he can get back there and bring some more guys who would be interested in going, and not just football players, but any student athletes, and just, he just wants to expose people to things besides the norm. Just go down there and see it for yourself. And if you don't fall in love with necessarily Nicaragua, fall in love with helping somebody anywhere that, that calls to you, because everybody's got something somewhere that you can do.
And it puts just life in perspective. So much more beyond football when you see, how blessed you are with the platform that you're able to really make a difference. Maybe not even with money, but just with your time, how you all have really devoted, time into investing in these families and making sure that their future, by the grace of God, that they have a future, down
Absolutely.
the road and everything.
We started a big English program in the school because, we're not going down there trying to rescue anybody, because that's impossible. Right. What you try to do is empower them and give them tools to improve their own lives. So, learning English for them is a huge opportunity for them for jobs, or getting them enrolled in school, or teaching them a craft, or whatever it is. Whatever we do down there, we try to help them help themselves. And it's just it's just an unbelievable experience. When Harry shows up, they all know him, obviously. He's tremendous, and they just come running. The kids come running. He's like the Pied Piper. They come out from everywhere, and they start, screaming his name. And he dances with them. He plays sports with them. He can speak some Spanish, so he's able to communicate with them. So it's fun to watch. That I really enjoy watching it. And I enjoy him sharing it with teammates. And that experience to people who've never been there is very special. I think Tommy was very moved when he went.
Have you all been able to keep in contact with them, even with COVID and everything going on?
Yeah, believe it or not. So we have, people working at the school that we're in contact with. And some of the residents in the area, they share a phone so they can send messages through like the Facebook app. And, once in a while they'll do that. And especially if there's like a dire need, they'll reach out and we try to make things happen. But, it's been tough because like every place else, COVID has hit down there. I'm not quite sure of the numbers down there, but nobody's been working, it's especially hard. You think it's hard here. It's really, really hard there. And, you're talking when they're looking for rice, beans, and oil for a week. It's just like you said, it puts things into perspective.
Well, I'm definitely happy it makes me one day want to go down there and check it out, and, definitely get a chance to kind of see what life is like, and definitely invest in those, especially, being here and, even from afar, just little things like praying for them and trying to encourage them to, definitely help, especially, with the times that we're going through now.
Yeah, for sure. You need to talk to Harry and get on one of the trips coming up.
Well, I'm going to get the information soon, so we can definitely post this to Buckeye Scoop and then everyone else on social media, so that everyone can help and hopefully try to pitch in, especially with COVID. And, definitely hope and look forward to better days ahead. But I want to switch gears. I have a question that I'm curious about. What is it like being a Buckeye mom? Like, what's unique about it? What are some of the things that people don't understand?
Oh, there's this sisterhood for sure. The parents are pretty tight. I'm on the board as the rep for our age group. So I was with the sophomores last year. I had freshman, sophomore, and now of course I'll rise up to the junior. So I've been involved in that regard. Just a lot of support. Things aren't always rosy. I became very close with Nancy Werner. It's just fun to watch, everybody's kids succeed and move on. And it's a lot of fun. And most of the parents are very close. You don't get to see everybody all the time, especially this last year, unfortunately. And hopefully this season coming up will be a little different. But boy, we certainly had fun when we were allowed.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. And it's great that, you have a bond with, so many people. One thing that I appreciate about you is that you and your family conduct yourself with great grace. Get that out, with great grace. How are you able to do that? And especially in this age where people are just so negative and feel like they can, I call them keyboard warriors, because, they sit behind a keyboard and, they're cowardly to say what they want to say, but chances are they're not going to say it to your face. In this era of that, how are you able to maintain such grace in the midst of just evilness, in a sense?
Because I hide it well. Honestly. That is a very difficult part of the equation, one that I wasn't really prepared for. And I think, I might give that advice to some moms or parents down the line to stay off social media. And one fool actually tagged me in a post where they were in a thread that was negatively speaking about my son. And so most of it I ignore because I don't want to be the mom running to my son's defense, and he certainly doesn't want that and he doesn't need it. But when you tag me in a post, I'm going to respond. So
yeah,
I said, basically I said, first of all, try not tagging the mom in this stuff.
That's the wrong one.
Second of all, why don't you try to show a little bit of grace to these players, not just my son, but all of them. I mean, I could name, and I'm sure you could too, most of the starters who at one time or another had made a mistake or something didn't go right, and you would have thought the world was ending. And when you talk about DMs being sent to your child, and they're not children, they're grown, but they still are. I mean, they're playing a game, and you think about some of the messages get sent to these kids. It's terrible. And all you want is, if you can't say something positive, be encouraging. Yeah. Offer them support, have their back. They're playing for you, for your entertainment. They're like gladiators, these kids, and all of them, not one. I'm not separating anyone, not separating my son, or it happened to Justin, it happened to Sean, it happened to almost all of them at one point or another. Has gotten the full brunt of an attack, and that's the downside. But I guess you have to get used to that. If you're going to be out in the public, there's always going to be the critics. I call them couch coaches.
I like that.
But what's encouraging is to know that out of the millions of fans, if you really put it into perspective, if you're talking about 50 or 100 people that say stupid stuff and honestly don't really know what they're talking about, and could never do what these young men do on a daily basis with their 15-hour days and their schoolwork and their training and their meetings and their practice, especially at a place like Ohio State, then you have millions out there that are supportive. So you really just have to kind of try to brush it off and block it out. And if it means leaving social media, then that's what you do. And you just, ignore the noise.
Ignore the noise. That's great advice. That is great advice. And it really puts things into perspective. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions that I usually ask the recruits. I usually try to get them thinking, and I usually get pretty good answers. So I'm excited to ask these. If there was a 90s song that would describe your life as a Buckeye mom, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. A 90s song. I'm so terrible with song.
Are you 90s, 80s, 2000s?
I was 80s, 90s for sure.
Okay, so let's do 80s, 90s.
Yeah, but I'm so bad with song names. Gosh, it would have to be something like Girls Gone Wild, because when Buckeye moms get together, I mean, we were dancing on the stage at the tailgates, not last season, but the season before, and Michelle Smith led that craziness, but I can't song name.
Hey, was it? I can't think of a song. I'm 27, so I'm not even going to try to think of that. I think it's like Girls Just Want to Have Fun or something.
That would work. That would work for the Buckeye moms for sure.
So if you had to have any actress, let's just say, just play you in a movie. If they were to make a movie about you and they were to say, you know what, you get to choose anybody, who would you choose to pick to play you?
Well, oh gosh, so she's too old for the part now, but Goldie Hawn in her day would have been a good pick. But do you even know who that is? You probably don't.
I don't. I have my phone here. I was gonna like research it
You
and
know what? We're
everything.
up and I'll have to call you back.
Because I was just like, oh gosh. It's like I feel like because the same thing happens like with my mom. It's like, what do you mean you don't know who that is? I was like, I don't know who that is. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's really sad.
I know it is. I'm it's bad. I have issues.
I'll have to find somebody who has blonde hair and blue eyes today that's in their 50s that could handle.
I mean, I like to think that I'm well-rounded. You know, I grew up with a single mom and she watched, introduced me to people like Doris Day and people of that magnitude, but for whatever reason, I just don't know who that one is. And I was like, gosh, please let her say something, someone that I know who it is.
She predates Goldie, so
Okay. That's not bad. Okay, so we'll go with Goldie Hawn. This one, let's see how I want to phrase this one. Well, I'll ask this because I always ask this. I have this debate with my coworker. Is a boneless wing a chicken wing or a chicken nugget?
that's a chicken nugget.
Oh my gosh.
If that's no wing.
See, my coworker, Tony Gurman, Tony, I love you, man, but this is not a debate anymore.
No, hands down, nugget or a chicken tender.
Okay, that works for me too. So maybe I'll give him that option. And so being from Georgia, let's just say I wanted to take a trip up there. What are two places that I have to visit to get the best food?
Oh, I'm not a huge foodie. So we live in a little town called Buford, and we go to our favorite place called Bare Bones, and he happens to be a meat distributor for Atlanta. So we can walk there from our house. We live in a little downtown area. So we walk there on the regular and get our pick of steaks.
Oh, wow.
So that would be definitely a place to hit up if you like steak. And South City Kitchen is a great Southern food place to go to. It's in Alpharetta.
Okay.
That's a good spot to go to. But there's so many great places to eat in Atlanta. Too many, actually. And you could have anything from, high-end steakhouse to Southern food, that comfort food.
Oh, yeah. That's my cardiologist is probably watching this, shaking his head. But I mean, there's a lot of traffic in Atlanta, though. So it's kind of like,
the
hard.
Is really bad.
So what are some of the things that you enjoy doing, especially, as a Buckeye mom, Harry's in college, that are less stressful? Because I know that I get stressed out watching Ohio State games. I cannot imagine the level of anxiety that you have. So what are some of the things that you do that helps you relax?
Drink wine. No. I run. I took up running when COVID started.
Okay.
So that has been a great stress reliever. And I, at 50 years old, I never ran in my life, but I was like, all right, well, again, we have to do something. We can't just sit here. So,
yeah.
And now I love it. Now I look forward to it, and I go a couple of times a week. So running, talking to, friends who are in the same situation is helpful. Whether, Harry has one of his best friends plays at LSU. So we're, close with his parents, and he's got friends, at Ole Miss, a lot of SEC schools being down here. So talking, and of course, my Buckeye moms, and, talking to our other moms is a great help because they understand where you're coming from. They're in the same boat. So, and, just hanging out with the family. Yeah. We try to come up for all the games. We come up for all the home games. And then, travel for most of the away, but not all of them. We can't get to all of them. We have another son that we have to take care of. So yeah. Can't do it all.
Oh,
you can't be taken out of school every, week to travel. So
and I have just two more questions. What is a verse, Bible verse that is giving you comfort in just these crazy times, just whether it's, what we talk about on social media or just, being, dealing with COVID? What is something that has brought you comfort, whether it's a verse, a song, something like that, that just brings you peace every time you think about it?
Just really First Peter 1:10, talking about how everybody's been giving gifts to use for a purpose. And, we keep that in the forefront of our minds because we truly believe that Harry is at Ohio State for a reason. And whether it's for the platform or to bring awareness to certain things, to use that platform, it's very comforting knowing that he is there, and we know he should be there. There was no question about that through recruiting. There were several burning bushes when it came to taking his visit at Ohio State. And we're just very secure in that knowledge that, we know he's supposed to be there and everything is going to work out for his good.
And my last question to you is, what is one of the biggest things that you've learned as a mother that you would pass on to anyone else?
Stay off social media. Just, you have to realize that in a good way, your son is not your own really anymore. These guys dedicate so much time to being at Ohio State and working out. I mean, they don't get the summers off. They don't get, a lot of breaks that students get. One mom her daughter goes to Ohio State and she's like, yay, my daughter's home for 13 days. And she's like, too short. And I was like, honey, you have no idea what short is. I said, enjoy every minute of it. She said, well, when does Harry get home? I said, he's not coming home. He's staying up there to train. And she was like, oh, wow, really? I said, that's what they do. Yeah.
That's definitely a part of the lifestyle.
It is.
And it's something that I don't think, it's easy to say it's something that the average person doesn't understand. I think the busiest person does not get, even if it's like a small school, just the level of dedication that goes into it. And then from the parents and the level of sacrifice that goes in it too, just to make it all come together. And it's something that I can say Ohio State fans are truly thankful for. Harry is an incredible young man, and you and your husband have done a great job with him. And I wish you a happy Mother's Day. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And for Beyond the Shoe, this is Dominique Smith. We will see you next time. Take care.